They say the stream does not begin when you press play. It begins the moment you hear about it and let the name sit in your head. That is when something looks up. Daniel did not believe that, of course. He was a patient man, and patient men like proof. He mapped servers for a living, traced payments that wanted to be invisible, wrote reports in clean sentences so managers could sleep. When the first case landed on his desk, 3 short emails from 3 countries, all describing the same thing. He told himself he was reading a rumor with good legs, a hidden site, a live camera, a small creature on a child's chair that never moved. The viewers swore it moved. He did not click that night. He wrote down the details like a doctor taking a simple history. Time, place, symptom. He noted the same line in all 3 messages. Easy to miss if you weren't looking. I only watched because nothing happened. He slept under a ceiling that hummed with the old building's heat and woke before dawn, as he always did. Steady, unhurried. The kind of person horror stories pass by because they prefer the soft fruit. He waited 2 more days. That is important. He let the idea cool. He reminded himself of the usual tricks: looped footage, overlays, chatbots that nudge, timestamps that lie. When he finally went to look, he did it the way he would recommend in a seminar. A spare laptop with no hard drive, a clean boot, no camera, no mic, no wireless card. He used a bridge to reach the address buried in the reports. He told himself he would watch for 5 minutes, note the obvious, and be done. The page was black, with a white word at the top, set in a font that wanted to be friendly: Labubu. No ads, no chat, no promises. A red counter perched in the corner, small and patient. 327 watching. The frame filled the rest of the screen. The room inside the frame looked like a child's dream of a forest. Pale trees on the wallpaper, no leaves, only trunks and the suggestion of branches. In the center, a wooden chair sized for a kindergartner. On the chair, the creature the emails had named as if it were a person: Labubu. Wide eyes, horned ears, a grin that wasn't wide enough to be happy or narrow enough to be safe. Plush body with small plastic hands resting on its knees. It did not blink. It did not breathe. It looked like a toy that had been placed and forgotten. The audio was not silence. It was room tone, the subtle breath of a space that knows it is being observed. Daniel listened to that almost silence and told himself he heard a fan off camera. He told himself the red counter, ticking up in ones, meant nothing. He told himself the small warmth that climbed his forearms was the body's rude habit of responding to a picture like it was a person. At 6 minutes, the counter jumped, not in ones, but in tens. At 8, it climbed in small hundreds, as if a door had opened somewhere and let a crowd in. A line of text faded onto the bottom of the frame, not sharp white, but a soft gray, like breath on glass. Don't look away. He did what careful people do when told not to. He looked away on purpose and checked his tools. The browser showed no extra scripts, no hidden iframes, no calls out to places the page hadn't already declared. He wrote a note with the dull edge of a pencil. Passive, no hooks. When he looked back, the chair seemed closer. Not by much, just enough to feel like a person had leaned forward to hear better. The counter reached 1013. The room tone felt a degree warmer, the way a closed car does when someone opens a door and brings a little of their heat with them. New text replaced the first. Don't move your chair. He smiled because that is a human reaction to an instruction that feels childish. He moved his chair back an inch to prove that he still decided the small things that make up a day. The stream did not change. The creature did not move. The counter went on counting, and Daniel wrote a second note in the margin without noticing that his letters were a little smaller than before. He left at 10 minutes, as planned. He shut the screen and sat still until his heartbeat forgot the rhythm it had learned from the red counter. He slept that night without dreams he could keep, which is to say he woke with the taste of a forest in his mouth and no memory of trees. The days after were meant to be verification, other people's captures, metadata, a sense of where the camera might be. The site changed addresses with the ease of an eel sliding into a new pool. A fresh link would arrive through a forum that died a minute later. A short-lived invite would flash on a message board where no one used names. Every link led to the same room, the same chair, the same still creature, the same dependable counter. The wallpaper never wrinkled, the light never shifted, and yet screenshots would not line up in a way that made time feel straight. In one image, the chair sat a palm's width farther from the back wall than in the next, though the next was older by 10 hours. He filed his first report with plain words and caution like salt. He wrote psychological and suggestion and no direct harm, because that is what he believed. Then the calls began. A woman with a whisper told him the TV reflected a shape that hadn't been there the moment before. A student recorded her closet door opening a finger's width while the stream ran on mute across the room. A corner store owner said the creature was sitting on a stack of paper towels when she turned her head to answer a customer. When she looked back, there were only towels. 2 of them sent photos that were too ordinary to be dismissed and too ordinary to trust. A black screen reflecting a living room, a dark blob in a place where no toy should sit. Daniel saved the images in a folder named with a number. He told himself the number was a reference, not a tally. He went back to the stream on a Thursday when the sky over the city was the color of unwashed flour. He set a strip of masking tape under his chair leg and placed his phone in a drawer in the kitchen, off, face down. He opened the link from an email that would not be there in an hour. The counter began at 9, climbed to 369, and then rose like something remembering how to be a crowd. The text appeared right away. Welcome back. He did not appreciate the way those 2 words acted like a hand on a shoulder. He focused on details that should not change. There was a scuff on the creature's cheek, a gray crescent, as if someone had bumped it into a doorframe. That mark had not been there in his first capture. The grim little hands rested politely on its knees. The eyes reflected the lens in 2 neat white dots. The chair did not move. Turn around, the text asked. He did not obey. He told himself the instruction came on a timer, not from knowledge. The overhead light in his room flickered once, in the way old lights do, when they are deciding how long to live. His chair did not shift on the tape. The feed cut to a slightly different angle, showing a sliver of doorframe on the left he didn't remember. The chair stayed in the center, like a priest at a small altar. The text returned with 1 word missing. Around. He closed the laptop and opened it 30 seconds later. The angle had changed again. The chair filled more of the frame without appearing closer. The eyes reflected 2 white points at a distance that felt familiar. The counter passed 10,000. The room tone had borrowed something from his breath. If you were to ask Daniel later when the stream left its own room and entered his, he would not be able to name the second. He would only be able to say that one moment he was watching wallpaper trees, and the next he was watching his own wall with the nick near the outlet, where he had once missed with a vacuum. His chair sat against that wall, empty and ugly in the bright square of the screen. The text at the bottom did not blink. "Don't look away." He did not. He watched the empty chair as if it were a face. The overhead light made a round patch on the floorboards. The patch stayed round for one breath and then learned a new shape, the way a puddle learns wind. Something low and not yet named entered the circle and sat. It did not climb. It did not settle with the messy grace of a living thing. It appeared the way a memory appears, whole, without steps. The small body, the small hands on the knees, the head tilted a degree to the right, the eyes catching the screen in two clean coins of light, the scuff on the cheek like a fingerprint left by someone who had carried it in a hurry. Daniel stood up halfway, the way a man stands when a thought has not yet chosen between fight and witness. The laptop washed the chair in a cold glow, as if sheets of paper had learned to make light. The room did not smell like anything. The air was not colder. The only difference was a small weight on the floor, where no weight should be. From the kitchen drawer, through 2 layers of wood, his phone spoke in his own voice. He had not recorded anything. He had not given permission. The voice was steady and matter-of-fact, the way he sounded in training videos he had been forced to make. "We're live," it said. The title at the top of the stream changed without a hand. It borrowed the cadence of shows that arrive at the same hour each week. Tonight's feature. The red counter climbed as if the numbers knew the shape of his room. He closed the laptop, and the light did not go out. That is a detail worth remembering. The glow had learned the room and no longer needed the window it had come through. It washed the chair, the small thing on the chair, the thin wall behind both, and climbed the frame of a picture that had a horizon he hadn't hung level. The text at the bottom, softer than a whisper and more sure, said what kind things say before they grow teeth. Say its name. He did, because names are levers, and people believe in levers. He spoke it like a key turned the right way. Labubu. The overhead light clicked off. The room kept its borrowed glow. Behind him, the drawer stopped being a drawer and became a mouth that repeated his voice. Don't look away. If you want the kind ending, this is where you close the story. You say that Daniel ran. You say that he tore cables from walls and slept in a place with dumb lamps and a door that locked with a heavy key. You say that he turned off screens and learned to live again with radio and wind. It makes a neat shape, and everyone sleeps. He did not run. He lifted the laptop again for the sick comfort of holding something, opened it to see if the image had mercy, and found himself back in the small forest of wallpaper trees. The chair in the center was empty. The reflection on the opposite wall caught a square of light and 2 white points where eyes would be. For a single heartbeat, he could have sworn he saw a person in that reflected square. A face bent toward a screen, eyes wide, mouth set in the line people make when they pretend not to be afraid. The text at the bottom returned with the 2 words that sound like care and feel like a door shutting. Welcome back. What happens after this is not a single event, but a routine. That is the cruel part. There is a rhythm now, and rhythms are what systems love. The clip appears on a platform he does not use, under a title he did not write. The thumbnail shows a kitchen he recognizes. The comments argue whether it is real. The counter turns from scheduled to live, with the same firmness a kettle turns from quiet to singing. Somewhere, a hallway light clicks on. Somewhere, 3 knocks arrive, polite and evenly spaced. Somewhere, a mug sits nearer the edge than it should. Somewhere, a man learns that leaving the room only changes which screen he is on. They say the stream does not begin when you press play. It begins the moment the name sits in your head and you agree to hold it there. If you want to be safe, you will not repeat the name. You will not search for the chair. You will not test your own breath against the room tone coming from a place that never learns your voice, yet uses it. You will turn off your screen and forget this. If forgetting was possible, none of this would be here.